Hi guys, my name is Cody, DFTBA Gerard. I'm a former coach for Rogue, Infinity, and ROCCAT, among other teams, and I'm here to talk about Brazil's RED Canids, who last Saturday were eliminated from MSI after a 29-minute defeat at the hands of RNG. And I have to say, I think that with the way they played, they probably earned better than a 2-4 record and a group stage exit. But that's in the past now. However, let's not let their performance be forgotten just yet, even though the Rumble stage has already started. Let's take a look back and see why RED Canids were so good when they were at their best. RED's group stage began with a dismantling of PSG Talon. They took them apart in a way that was clinical, that was coordinated, and that was refined in a way that you don't very often see from wildcard regions. As early as 5 minutes into the game, they had their jungle and support working as a unit, finding advantageous angles, setting up vision, working in fog of war, setting up plays with numbers advantages, using their priority on the map to create plays. And this was something that they maintained throughout the entire game as we move into the mid-game, as towers are starting to get close to falling, as the first two dragons and the herald are down, that Red are now working as more than just a jungle support duo. They're working as a jungle top lane duo, as a jungle mid duo. They're together on the map, hovering the same side, taking control of areas with numbers advantages, and continuing to take this lead that they have built in the early game and use it not just for kills or for lane advantages, but for control and for a increased sense of their win condition as the game moves forward. They are also using this control, using the lane priority and the vision control advantages that they have to trade up. Even though the bot lane is going to lose their tower here, you can also see that they're gaining plates in the mid lane, they're getting plates in the top lane, they're going to eventually get the tower in the top lane too from that herald. They are also gaining vision in the river, taking camps in the topside jungle just a little while ago. They're getting so much for this play. They are trading up so hugely. It's all because of this coordination and this planning that they have. It keeps going even as the game gets later too. Here, in a much more subtle way, they're just using their advantage, they're using their control to just slowly push PSG back to take control of their jungle as the Baron is about to spawn, and just suffocating them, ensuring that there is no reasonable way they can easily come back into this game. And here, actually, a little bit earlier, you can see them using their positioning and using their vision and priority to gain superior position, to set up a fight with this composition of Zoe and Jhin that thrives so well in Fog of War, and Leona and Wukong who can engage so well out of the fog. And with this positioning that they're getting, they're playing to their composition's strengths. They're playing really almost perfectly. They're doing everything they should. They're checking all their boxes, and they are giving PSG no windows back into this game. So the question then becomes, how can a team that was so dominant in some games end up being only 2-4 and knocked out in groups? Well, the answer in Red's case is inconsistency, and this shows up against PSG in their second game versus them. As you can see here, there is a failed tower dive, and this is really the point at which PSG not only start to get back in the game, but where things start to go wrong. And if we freeze it just before this dive starts, you can see the concept is sound. You've got the Rift Herald, you got a wave push, you got a carry in Aatrox, but look at the map. There's no vision in their blue jungle. They have no idea where the Wukong is, no precise idea of where the Vex is, and this is how you end up with disasters like this. We can see a similar thing on this next play here where, you would think that Red have good positioning, and they do. They are in Fog of War, they have first position on the Dragon, they have a strong poke comp with good engage as well, so they can poke and engage from Fog. But look at this vision toggle that comes in right here. They have no idea where exactly PSG are going to come from as they do this Dragon. And so they end up, despite being in good position, in what is actually a terrible position, and they get wiped out. They get collapsed in on from multiple sides, and it just destroys them. Obviously, in their matches versus RNG, they were a bit outmatched. And that's not saying much. There's very few teams in the world that do match up well with RNG. However, I do think that there's still some positives to take away from these games. I mean, as you can see here, they're quite far down. And yet, not only are they still trying to make plays, they're still being active on the map, they're still looking for counters, they're still trying to find ways back into this game, but they're actually finding some success, too. And ultimately, that's all you can ask from a team in this situation. They know they can't sit back. If you look at the compositions, they're not going to outscale. They're not going to win this game if they don't try to fight back. And ultimately, yeah, it does kind of end up being too little too late. But this is the sort of proactivity and bravery, really, that you need from a team like this. This may seem to some people like it's just banging your head against a wall. It's paddling upstream in a flood in a rubber dinghy. But ultimately, these are the only ways that you can win these sorts of games where you fall behind. Obviously, the ideal thing is not to fall behind at all. But unless you really strongly outscale, you have to keep trying to be proactive. You have to keep trying to make these sorts of counter plays, these sorts of attempts at punishing mistakes, punishing over pushes, or looking for just these small windows that you can still exploit when you're behind. And a lot of teams, even in major regions, let alone in wildcard regions, I'd say most teams even really struggle at doing this, at continuing to try to push and to find things from behind. But Red, in their second game here versus RNG, they really kept trying, kept going. There were even moments where you're like, maybe if things break just right, they can pull this back. And that impressed me immensely because it is something that will serve them so well going forwards. And obviously, sometimes these plays aren't going to work. Sometimes you're going to overpress. Sometimes you're going to push too far. Sometimes you're going to completely lose it and just fail at that. That's what makes coming back so tough, figuring out which plays are the right ones and which ones are the wrong plays. But too often, we see teams that just don't even seem to try, that seem to just wait for the game to come to them, as I said, to just hope. And honestly, between how dominant they were and how good they could be, even when behind, I hope this isn't the last that we see of RED Canids at international tournaments this year. I hope that they can make Worlds. I hope that they can come back to Brazil and show the level of play that they did at times during this tournament. And then that they can come back and make it to Worlds, because this is a team that, as I said, impressed me in several different ways at several different moments. And if they can find that consistency, if they can find that sort of way into becoming not just a team that can be good, but a team that is regularly good, they could surprise some people. They could really make some noise in a tournament like this, more than they even did at MSI, and stop dropping games to teams like PSG and Wildcats and start challenging to make it out of groups, or at the very least, looking like a legitimate threat game in and game out. So thank you for watching. I've been Cody, DFTBA Gerard. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it interesting, please give it a like. If you have any comments, observations, ideas, constructive criticism even, please do leave it in the comments. I'm pretty new at this, so I'm open to hearing anything that you guys might think. And if you're interested in some more content like this, there's nothing else there yet, but I am going to be putting out more on this channel going forwards. So do think about subscribing. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.